Another Brick fan here with a Throwback Thursday. This is from the first Lego movie. This is Benny's Spaceship, Spaceship, Spaceship! This is set 70816. It was released in June 2014. It has 940 pieces, 7 minifigures, and it cost about $100 when it was first released. We'll look at all the minifigures in detail in a little bit, but let's take a look at the big ship first. Here is Benny's spaceship, and as you can see, it is a definite callback to the original classic space with a bunch of the classic space icons here. There's one right here up front, right front and center. There's one here that you can see, and then there's more of these in the back here. Lots of these stickers with the arrows on them, you know, the latch things, the light, the yellow glass on all of these different pieces here. Some of the things, some of the prints inside here, pretty hard to see. These prints are kind of a callback to the original computers that were in these ships. You can see that one sticker is a little off, but you can see all the different readouts there. There are 3 different seats there, and then there's a very complex control panel up front that you can just barely see in there. It is surprisingly very solid. I really like the use of these pieces here with the crosshatch pattern here that makes it look like intakes. So that makes for a really cool look, the way they did that with these arch pieces here. Thought that turned out really well. There's a secondary area here for another person to sit with this little piece here to hold them in. This is actually designed for Unikitty. So Unikitty fits right in here. Slide her right in, and then this little robot body piece here holds her in place. So she can be right here in the cockpit in this secondary area. And as you see, there are these spring shooters here, which are a little worn out, it looks like. That one is anyway. So that spring-loaded shooters there on the sides. Back here, moving back just a little bit more, you see there's a little area for these robots. And there's one with a red chest piece, and then one with a yellow chest piece there. There's a couple of red bars in there, and then this radar dish folds down to keep them in place. On either side, on the wings here, there are these little craft that detach. And as you see here, they've got a little targeting area in there, and there is a small control panel down in here. These wings can fold down. You can slide a minifigure in here and have a separate craft. So there's actually 2 of these, one on either side. So these are built exactly the same. They can just clip on either side. Since they're built the same way, you can clip either one on either side. So that turned out pretty nicely. Here you have the LL929. And you may or may not remember, but the LL928 was the Galaxy Explorer, which is one of the original classic space models. You see back here we have these slopes done with the space logos on them, which turned out really nicely. These are stickers, unfortunately, not prints. If we go all the way around the back, you see we have our engines back here. There's 3 engines back here, and this one actually sticks out a little bit. And what that does is if you push this in, it moves the wings out, and we have these large spring shooters here that get exposed, and there's one on either side. So if you go in and press down here, so with these large spring shooters exposed, you just come to this yellow piece, pull it back, and it fires this large spring-loaded shooter. So that's a way to do that. At this, pushing these wings back in, you see that the engine moves in the back there. So that's how that is done. I like the little hoses that are done here. I think those look really good. These sides obviously lift up when the wings push out to give those spring-loaded shooters room to fire. Like I said, inside the cockpit here, there is plenty of room for 3 minifigures. So we can put Benny up here in the front, flying the aircraft. We could put Wild Style in here, and even Emmett could all go inside the spacecraft. So plenty of room for all of the minifigures that come with this. So that fits down in there. We have a really nice spaceship here that was built by Benny. There is, of course, a robo pilot that is included with this. So this comes with a second spacecraft, and this is done in a black and red color scheme, which turned out nicely. Once again, a clear cockpit canopy here. There is another computer in here with all the different controls. I like the Octan logo with a circle around it, so it's a space Octan. Our robo pilot fits in here just fine. Get him to fit right in there, and then there is a spot here on the back for his weapon to clip on the back there. Some red engines, spot for the weapon, and then a couple of these fins that can be maneuvered a little bit for letting him navigate or steer his craft. So overall, I think a very complete set with these 2 different ships, obviously a good guy and a bad guy. And I think they both turned out quite well. Let's go ahead and take a closer look at all of the minifigures. As I mentioned in the beginning, this set has 7 minifigures. Benny, Robo Emmett, Wild Style, a Robo Pilot, Unikitty, and 2 classic space droids. Here we have 3 of our heroes, or the good guys. We have Benny, who looks great with his huge grin, his broken helmet, and his faded space logo here. All looks really good. Robo Emmett has these silver hands, or at least gray hands. Same construction worker outfit, you know, with the orange vest over the blue shirt. He's got his little ID card down here. He is, of course, carrying a coffee cup from the City Coffee Cups. And he's got his hard hat on. If you take his hard hat off, you can see that silver there that he had when he was wearing, trying to show him off as a robot. And then as you also see, this hat piece has hair built into it, so it's dual molded. Here's Wild Style with her signature hair here, and then she has this radio piece, which is pretty common. And then she's wearing a blue jumpsuit with a little bit of space logo over here, and she does have a hoodie accessory here over her head, which I think looks really good. Moving around these figures, you see that they all have these accessories on their back. So as you would expect, Benny has the air tanks. You can get a better look at the hair underneath Emmett's cap here. Here's the piece of resistance in silver. And then, like I was saying about Wild Style, she has this hoodie piece back here. So if we get these accessories out of the way, you can see Benny's alternate face with not such a big grin. And then a plain back here underneath the air tank. No alternate expression on Emmett, but I do appreciate the silver here. And then the piece of resistance here that he's got on is also done in silver. And it just connects on there, on this little piece. And then he's got his striping there to round out his construction uniform. Wild Style, of course, has an alternate expression. You can see here, more of a grumpy look on her face, and then you can see the rest of the printing here on the back of her blue jumpsuit here. So let's take a look at our next three minifigs. Here we have Robo Pilot and the two classic space droids. See, these droids are just brick built. Minifigures, I guess, is a stretch for me, but that's how they're listed. We have one with a trans yellow and one with a trans red. And then this is our Robo Pilot, who has this very interesting blaster here. A nice mold with a red cone piece there in the front. He is also sporting this red visor on his helmet. So if we look underneath there, he has a silver head with the orange printing on it, which I think turned out really well. He has the octan symbol here, of course, on his metal armor. Moving around the figures here. You see this good back printing also. That's kind of a silver vest that he's wearing. I like the silver printing for his head. No alternate expression here. The helmet piece is pretty standard. And then the robots, of course, have these gear shifts to represent antennas for them. Let's take a close look at Unikitty. Here is Unikitty all dressed up in her blue spacesuit. She's got these pearl gold 1x1s here to represent her feet, the blue tail, the gold unicorn horn in this case. This is kind of the older style build of Unikitty, where she's using this stud instead of the post piece, and then the 1x3 with the hole for that post, which I think is a much more stable build of Unikitty. But still, overall, a good representation of Unikitty. I do like the fact that she has the classic space logo here printed on her. Probably part of the space suit that she's wearing. I think this turned out really nice, and I really do like the print for her face here. Now that we've looked at all the minifigures, let's go back and I'll give you my final thoughts on this set. Overall, this is a really great set. I think it looks really good. It really appeals to me as a classic space fan. It's many of the sets that I grew up with when I was younger, so I do like the blue and yellow color scheme here with the gray accents. And then I really like seeing all these classic space logos all around this ship. It really speaks to me with Benny being, the classic space guy. Really turns out well. The 7 minifigures I think are good, although I think those 2 little brick built robots, these little guys back here, are not necessarily, I don't really consider them minifigures, but I suppose they are characters as a part of the set. I do like Unikitty here in her space uniform, and also Wildstyle is in a space uniform, so I thought that was a good touch. I think Emmett back here, the Robo Emmett, so even though it is really nice to get him in this robot costume with the piece of resistance still on him, I think by the time this spaceship was built, Emmett was lost, if I remember from the movie. He had crossed over and fallen into the pit there, so he didn't have the piece of resistance anymore. But I guess that aside, it's nice to get that figure in that robot Emmett look. The little extra ship here, I really love the Octan Space logo here, and this robot pilot is a really good figure too. Going to value of this set, it is 940 pieces for $100, so very close to that 10 cent per piece ratio that I like to start with. And just based on the size of this set, all of the playability that goes with it, I think this is a really great value. There's really only 4 true minifigures and then 3 brick-built minifigures if you want to count Unikitty as a brick-built minifig, which she essentially is. I like all of the shooters. We have the spring shooters here. We have the regular spring shooters here, the large spring shooters here. We have the flick fire missiles up in the front, the two detachable little craft that come off the sides, and then the other craft here. Might have been interesting if they would have put maybe some flick fires or something on this one as well, but overall I think there's a lot of really great play features and the aesthetics are really good on this ship, and I think $100 is a very fair price for a set this size. Hope you've enjoyed my thoughts on this Lego movie set on this Throwback Thursday. I'm going to get started on my next video, and until then, happy building.